Hello, everyone, and welcome to another talk here. We're going to discuss Bill Evans here, talk about his writing and harmony. All right, so I'm going to reference a book of his. Well, not of his, actually, written on him by Jack Riley. It's called The Harmony of Bill Evans. And I'll put a link here, if I can find one, for that book. It's a book that I have a hard copy of and read many years ago. And I think it will be helpful for us to discuss it. All right, so as I'm, there's a volume 2 as well. So as I'm getting this already, I mentioned that I'm recording this audio as a podcast. I'm streaming this live to YouTube members, and I will also be recording it here locally and uploading it. So I've found that sometimes if there's an issue with the stream, it might be helpful to have the video recorded in case there's a problem with the connection and all that. All right, so I'm putting a link that is an affiliate link for the Harmony of Bill Evans. I was just reading through it a little bit, and it talking a little bit. Oops, it talks a little bit about different forms and things to start us out. So I'll talk about that as well as we go through. All right. So it has a preface and a little something on the education of the jazz musician. So that's what I was kind of reading through here a little bit. So I'll mention that as I'm just kind of skimming through here a little bit. So they mention blues form. They mention the song form and the free form. And then they talk about, so they talk about that in terms of kind of stages to learning, I guess. And then they have these, what they call parallel classifications, modal, tonal, and atonal, which is, kind of in line with what we have been talking about. And then they kind of equate the blues form with modal, song form with tonal, and free form with atonal. And they kind of go on to qualify that a little bit. And then they talk a little bit about the instinctive stage, the intellectual stage, and then to the intuitive stage. So they kind of put that into this those three stages as well in parallel. So anyhow, I thought I mentioned that a little bit. Okay, so they talk about periscope as being a something to help us follow some of these rules, or some of these ideas on how to voice chords, or some basics on that. Find my other glasses here. I don't know where I put those. Oh well. All right. So the root third and the seven of a given chord. Let's say we have E flat. Maybe switch over here to this view. All right, so let's say we have the E flat would be the root, G would be the third, and D would be the major seven. Okay, and they're saying omit the third, which is kind of what we just did. So let's back up a little bit. So let's say we had an E flat major seven. There would have a root, a third, a fifth, and a major seven. So they're saying, okay, well, omit the fifth, and then that leaves us with these voicings, and then we can play this note on string 3. Okay, and then their third step that they say is adding an optional color to it, so that maybe a ninth, right? So a 9th, 11th, or 13th is what they mention here. Okay. All right. So those are certain, concepts that we can take into account. So keeping the root third and the 7 on the lower register of the chord, and then maybe having some of those other tones on top. Just generalizing on that. All right. So then we have some examples, and one of the concepts that we'll kind of gain from this, I think in particular, is the concept of secondary dominance. So if we're in the key of C, for example, okay, and let's say we're trying to create some motion to get to D minor, right? Well, let's say if we're, just for example, we're going directly from C major 7, we could maybe play C sharp diminished 7, and then move over to D minor. What is that C sharp diminished? Well, you could relate it to an A7. So here's an A7 in first inversion. That's similar to the C sharp diminished. We have this tone. So we might also say, okay, A7 flat 9, right, for that over C sharp. And that helps us point something at another part of the scale, like the 2 chord, the D minor. So the first song, and I'm just going to kind of glide through and do some basic overview and takeaways on this. So they talk about periscope. So they have a 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, and then 3 dominant, right? Okay. Okay, and then we're going to go to F major 7. Now the E7, say E7, we might tend to think of that going to the A minor, okay, maybe like a 5 of 6. Okay. There are quite a few chord changes where it does actually go 1, 3, and then to the 4. All right, so that's where we're going here. 4, and then 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, and then 5 minor to the 1 dominant. And what that has another function there with it. It has a 2-5 to the key of the 4. So the C7 becomes a secondary dominant, a 5 of 4. B7, B flat 7, and A7. So kind of a walk down chromatically. And then the A7, might say, forms a five of the 2 chord. Okay. 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5. Okay. Now here we might even connect here a little bit. We might say but anyhow, we get to the 3, but this time it's half diminished. Right? So minor 7 flat 5, which is usually followed by the 5, the A7, in this case 2, 5, and then we get the 2. So that's a 5 of the 2, D minor, G7, 1, 4 minor, and then 3, 6, which kind of forms a 2, 5, and gets us back to the 2 chords. All right, so that gives us a little bit of an idea of some of the chord changes there, right? Thinking in terms of, like I said, secondary dominants and all that. So they talk about some goals in here. So these are some goals that you might try to place into your playing. Obviously, this is a pianist, but that we're analyzing here. But you could do some of these things on guitar. Harmonize the melody based on the chord changes. Practice just the melody in all keys. Play the 3-note voicings we talked about. In all keys and strum the melody or sing the melody. So a lot of just different, and those aren't all of them, but just a few different kind of things that they might do to analyze or really internalize really just about any tune. All right, so let's take a look a little further here in this tune, and maybe I'll just in general talk about we dive deeper maybe into some of the things that we talked about so far. All right, so on guitar, when you're maybe kind of translating some of this information, let's take key of C. We can play the root, third, and 7 of a given chord, and try to kind of maybe move them up strings, 5, 4, and 3. and go into the key of C and adapt each chord so that we remain in the key of C. So maybe do that in 1 octave there. And then kind of the same kind of thing, but maybe with the 6th string, and then the middle 2 strings, same kind of thing. Have the root on 6 and the 3rd and the 7, or 7 and 3rd on the middle 2 strings, strings 4 and 3. Right. So maybe kind of move those up: D minor, E minor, F. Maybe carry some of those down an octave, down to F, G. Okay. And then back along there. So that's a really pretty powerful, I think, concept for us guitarists, is to see if you can play the 3rd and the 7 on the middle 2 strings. Now, you could certainly work those out on any of them, but you'll get really a lot of mileage out of, I think, those two, because you can try to think of maybe the low 2 strings as kind of your bass instrument, and then the middle 2 strings as your chord quality sort of instrument, and then the upper 2 notes as upper 2 strings as maybe either melody, or think of them as the kind of color tones that you might put on those. Like, so C major, you might put a 9 on there, right? Include some 9 chords. Right, and then try that all on the low 4, or the low 5 strings. Add some color tones. Now these you'll get a lot of 5ths going on, so you might experiment with 11s, 13s, sharp 11s. Okay. And then from there, maybe taking the top 4 strings and working on those a little bit, like we're doing with On Green Dolphin Street. Right. So let's say you have the C major 7. We'll do rootless. So we might play this chord. Now we've added the 5th back in. We got rid of the 5th. We got rid of the root, and then put the 5th back in. But you could play maybe the 13 instead. And then kind of as a practice sort of thing, take the right hand and play some tones down here to get that going. All right. D minor. Okay. So that's D minor 9. That has a 5th in it. We can say, okay, well, we'll put a 9 and 11, and just give the ear time to kind of absorb that. Okay, on this E, I'm playing a little more of like a dominant. So I'm playing E7, flat 9, flat 13. F major. Yeah, we could do that. Do this for listening, maybe. 13. Sharp 11. Right, and just kind of moving up. There's a G13. Includes a 9 in there. So a couple of examples, and then play also, so there's a little bit of a phenomenon you might say. Maybe this is obvious, maybe it's not. I don't know. But if you have a C major 7, when we have the 5th in there on string 5, or sorry, when we had I meant to say string 5. When we had string 5 in there with the root, then the order of the middle 2 strings is 3 and then 7. When we put the 6 on the root, just kind of what's available in a position as far as the fingers can reach. With 7 is lower and then 3 is higher, right? So we can go through that whole process again of playing the 7 as a lower voice and 3rd as the higher voice, and then maybe experimenting with how those are going to sound. Or maybe using the right hand. I don't have really good facility with tapping necessarily. I haven't really worked on that much, but it is good to give your ear the root note. Play the chord. Give yourself some context. So if you have the 3 and the 7 down low, and then the maybe 2 more tones up higher, that tends to work really well musically. And but I think to be kind of thorough, I think it's good to also take some of those and we take something like this. Let's say we're thinking about C major. Now the 7 and the 3 are on the higher 2 strings, and then just kind of to be thorough on it, and give yourself a lot of available voicings, and also maybe explore some options on those too. So as they said in the book there, use the root and the 3 and the 7 as your foundation. And if you're playing in an ensemble with a bassist, then you already have that root note, so you can really even just drop that and free up the hand to play maybe some of those other higher notes like we talked about. So omitting the 5th, maybe omitting the root too. On piano, you can do kind of both hands, but even then, if you have a bass player, you may leave that root note out. So let's talk about the secondary dominant. So each one of these locations, right? C, D, E minor, F, G, A minor. You might try to work in reverse a little bit on those. So you have 2 chord, and then find out what the 5 of that is, right? So 2, and then 5 of 2, and then 2, or 3, 5 of 3. Okay. And 4 chord. Excuse me. 5 of 4, and then 4. The dominant can also have a 5 of 5. And then that A minor. E7, A minor, right? So those are just some quick things that you can do as a takeaway on really a little bit of this talk, and we're pulling some ideas, concepts from the book there. So so that's what we'll work at today, as far as that all goes. All right, so yeah, check out that book. It's it's written for general jazz musician type of folks. So it's not written. What I mean by that is it's not written for guitar. It doesn't have tablature or anything. So it does require some music reading and things like that. So just be aware of that. But I would recommend that book for you. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for checking this out. Thanks to those on the member area. And if you are watching this on the YouTube or on, if you're listening to this rather on the podcast and would like to see video on it, join the member area at youtube.com/PrepPrince. All right, everybody, have a great practice session, and I'll see you in the next one.